Good morning, everyone. This is Coach Mo for another awesome version of the 6 career killers that you must avoid. And today we're talking about that handy dandy perfectionism loop that you may find yourself in. As a matter of fact, getting online this morning was not perfect because I shut my computer down last night to reboot it in the morning for an update, and it took always longer than it should have, longer than I had time for to start it back up. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm thinking, should I do this on my laptop instead? And I'm waiting and I'm going, oh no. The broadcast app that we use when we do some of our Facebook Lives actually expires, I think 9 minutes after the scheduled time. So we're scheduled for an 8:30 broadcast. And I was racing against time already this morning after a wonderful night of coaching awesome, kick-ass women who are claiming their future, who are getting out of their old patterns, who are doing things the new way. All sorts of imperfections this morning. I love it. It's so good. I love it. So today's career killer I see all the time. And let me tell you this. It's not only a problem to go after perfection and to be frozen with fear if you're not perfect, but it's a whole delusion of life. And that's where this gets really deep, and it gets to be a significant problem. Cheers to the Biltmore. And if you're watching me live, yesterday was the 100th anniversary of women getting the vote here in the U.S., and I am so gratified and so happy that we are progressing since then. And kudos to all of those women, the suffragettes, who put their lives on the line, who marched and got arrested and all of that for being bad characters, for wanting to have another level of freedom, for wanting to have the democratic vote privilege in this country. Freedoms are not given. Oftentimes, and we see this all throughout human history, freedoms are won. Freedoms are fought for. And so when we are moving out of our perfectionism habit, you have to fight for it. Like, you're not just going to go, oh, I'm going to give up being a perfectionist. No, you got to fight for it, because what happens is your nervous system gets encoded with the memory of what it feels like to be freaked out about wanting things to be perfect. And since your nervous system is in charge of you, unless you've done my work and you're deeply self-evolved, your nervous system is in charge of you, ladies. And when you do the inner work that we do in my 12-week kick-ass workshop, you begin to move into self-mastery. And you gotta leave the perfectionist thing bye-bye. Just want to say a hello to Mary, Linda Ernest, Kim Lusk, Elisa, nice to see you, Gloria and Michelle. I know the suffragettes were total, absolute badasses. And I'm actually wearing white in solidarity of that. So we all have heard the term paralysis by analysis, and there's an element where the ego gets gratified that it is analyzing things. Yes, I'm an analyzer. I'm going to take a look at things really difficultly and hardly, and I'm going to be on top of this. So the ego has this persona on top of the nervous system. And this whole personality of perfectionism begins to invade who you are. I'm going to tell you what, when you were little, there was no perfectionism going on. Your soul doesn't care about perfection. Your soul wants one thing, and that's expansion. Your soul wants expansion, growth, adventure, and it wants love and light. Where do you see perfection in that? The only way you see perfection in what your soul desires on this earth is that your soul is perfect. You are perfect at the soul level because you're all different. We're all different at the soul level. And because of that, we're perfect. And we are a facet, a dimension of the divine. Did you hear before, maybe before I said it, that you were made in the likeness and image of God, your creator? So hello. No matter what you do, you are perfect. I'll just sit here for 30 minutes while you contemplate that, because that's the answer. The answer isn't what you do. No, I know. As a young girl, I am sure, hello, Tammy, nice to see you. As a young girl, I'm sure you were trained to do better in school. You were trained to be better at home. You were trained to try to be perfect. And some of you may have been raised by parents who withdrew love, affection, or things if you didn't behave well. And if that happened before the age of 7, it is baked into your subconscious default programming of how to be in the world. It's baked in. Now, not that you can't unbake it, but it's deep. And chances are, if that was how you were raised, that deep programming is your default mode. You're not even conscious of living that way. And so I know that you can move away from that programming if you choose another program. And that other program is your soul's beauty. Here's the tricky part. And hello to Tarina. I'm thinking I had 3 for 3, Mo. So glad that Kick-Ass Careers helped me see the light. Well, we're doing 6 of them. Let's see how you're going to, what your averages are going to be, Tarina, at the end of the week. So your soul is the only way out of this perfectionist trap. You probably don't know how to get there. I mean, most people pray, some people meditate, and the combination of praying and meditating is part of the way there. You got to get into your energy body. You got to get into your energy body deep enough that your nervous system gets reprogrammed. That's just the way it is. Your software that runs your life is a combination of your nervous system, your energy body, and that combination is just a bunch of habits over time that has created your personality. And if your personality is a perfectionist personality, you're going to have to go deeply inside of you to reconstruct the program that is directing you to fear imperfection. That program that has caused you to happily say, I'm a perfectionist. That program that happily instructs your ego to say, I only make decisions when I look at things thoroughly and understand them completely and know all the this and all that. To which I say, save it, sister. If you're in the first 5, maybe 10 years of your career, you're learning the stuff that you need to know for your job. After that, you're learning the stuff that you need to know to navigate the influence and impact in your profession, in your industry. After 10 years of your career, if you're still in the knowledge gaining, or if you still think that you don't know enough, something's not clicking. No offense. Okay. At the age of early 30s, definitely mid 30s, your ability to have to analyze everything and have everything be perfect should be pretty much done. Well before that, ideally, because chances are you're managing projects and people at some point after 5 years of your career, you've probably got some additional responsibility. If you're managing people, you got to get out of perfectionism ASAP. You've probably come across in your career, I hope not, but you probably have, a micromanager. You're not one of those, are you? A micromanager is a perfectionist, out of control. Alyssa, I'm in a career turmoil right now. How do I schedule a call with you for help? mofall.com/dailymo. Alyssa, rock on. We'll take care of you and talk with you about what's really going on and see if we can help you out. Happy to do it, and that's what we do. Proud to say we're darn good at it. And are we perfect, ladies? I don't know. You tell me. Lovely clients here joining us, Alyssa, so you can see some of their comments here or on career killer number 1, which was blaming others. Career killer number 2 that I had yesterday, which was settling. We talked about that last night on the Kick-Ass Career Coaching call a bit, about settling and complacency. The other thing that perfectionism gets in the way of is you seeing how awesome you are. Because if you're a perfectionist, please get rid of it, please. If you're a perfectionist, I'm going to say this right now. Let me save your life by helping you find your soul. Because if you're a perfectionist, not only are you probably making yourself miserable with self-judgment, but you're also making other people sort of unhappy. I'm just here to say, if you're judging everything that everyone else does and you're seeing the imperfections in it because you're like, well, I can just see things that other people don't see. Stop it right now. It's not helpful. What's helpful is shining the light on how awesome other people are. What's helpful is seeing the beauty and the amazingness and the talent and the gifts that other people have. That's cool. That's what your soul wants to do and see. I often mention my granddaughter, who is this lovely soul on the planet, 3.5, and she doesn't see imperfections in people. She might notice some things. What's that, Momo? What's that? What's that? But she doesn't focus on what's wrong. She focuses on light, bright, fun, happiness, excitement, interest, wanting to know, curiosity, the things that brighten and lighten us as human beings. And that's what a real soul is. When you are navigating your life, curious, interested, generous, focusing on the good and the happiness and what can be done and the solutions and what's possible and how bright, smart, brilliant you are and how bright, smart, and brilliant your coworkers are and how awesome it is to do the work that you do and how awesome it is to recognize the contributions of all of the past work that you've done. When you load up that into your programming and that's how you live life, it's sweet. Sweet as can be. During coaching with Yumo, I found my courage to leave that micromanager in the toxic environment. Absolutely. And a great plan executed. And Paula, best call I ever had. I know. Patty Mo, I love it. You know, I told that story once before and one of my clients jumped on the Momo thing. Okay. You know, I'll give you that. Yes, because my granddaughter does not call me Coach Mo. She does not quite get that yet. So fear of making a mistake is unfortunately rooted in inadequacy. And so we think this perfectionism and this overanalyzing thing is sort of like a trait that's helpful and welcomed, and it keeps you out of trouble. It's not. It's a signal that you feel inadequate at a very deep, deep level. And truthfully, it just hurts my heart to think about human beings walking around this planet feeling inadequate. And what happens there is that you're racing against the feeling. And you're striving to overcome that feeling of inadequacy that is tugging at your soul. And it's literally claiming your light. You see, when we feel inadequate, we are far away from our divine self. When we feel that we have to run against that inadequacy and press on to be perfect and to prove ourselves and to overcome that deep, deep feeling of inadequacy, it just doesn't ever happen. You cannot outrun that feeling of inadequacy. You can't outrun it. You can't outrun the feelings of wanting to prove how awesome you are if it's coming from a place of inadequacy. And unfortunately, so many young girls and women are raised with programming and patterns and behavioral conditioning that puts us in this inadequacy trap. So unfortunately, this perfectionism and this fear of making a mistake is deeply rooted in the feelings as a human being of being inadequate. And that's why it's so difficult to get to. But I'm going to say this. Yes, Kim White, and thank you, and Letty. I'm going to say this to you. The work that we do in our 12-week workshop is the quickest way to move out of feelings of inadequacy and into feelings of recognizing your brilliance, your greatness, your awesome soul self. And it's only through days and weeks of resurrecting your soul from the inside that you can actually overcome these feelings of inadequacy. Here's the thing. I learned how to raise my soul's vibration after my breast cancer. Getting your breast cut off and having to face cancer in a life and death race brings you to a level of deep reflection. It brought me to a level of deep reflection. I'm sure there's people who go through it who run from that because they're scared. And I was primed up and ready to dive into my soul self and really see who I am and really wanting to get to that level of self-understanding. And really, it's more than understanding. It's a self-relationship. And when you have that deep relationship with yourself, you have it with your soul. And when you have that deep relationship with your soul, you have that deep relationship with your divine. That's where life gets really good. When you're communing with your soul and your divine every day. When you're living your divine self every day. It's a game changer. And it feels so good. So good. Hello to Angela Long and Maria. Last night on our coaching call, one of the wonderful women in the workshop was reviewing where she stands with her current role and where she wants to go. And unfortunately, like so many times in this journey of self-relating, she was in a little bit of a rut. And she was in a little bit of a rut of self-criticism. And unfortunately, the 8-track tape player that was inside of her running was the mistakes that she's made. And intellectually, she wanted to move that dialogue from mistakes to suboptimal decisions. And that's a beautiful thing because the ego was trying to ease up on her a bit. But what we did in the coaching was to shine a light on how beautiful and awesome she was, that she dove into those opportunities. And they actually revealed things about her that were awesome. But because she had this programming running that was self-criticism, and it was the same thing I'm talking about. It was feelings of inadequacy. So she was judging herself. She was on that train for a bit, may have been the day. We were able to help her in the work that we do. I was coaching her last night and helping her see her soulful self. And she went from down and unhappy about herself and unsure and too timid to apply for jobs that she absolutely is totally qualified for, maybe even overqualified. And when I was able to help her see her soul's journey through all of that, it was literally like lifting a veil. And she saw how awesome she is and she has been over her career. And ladies, you and I both know this truth. Your job and your career is the second biggest reflection of how you show up in the world and how your soul is doing. Most women, the number one is their families. Your career, though, while you're working, is where you spend most of your time and, frankly, your attention. No judging on that. It's an important aspect of a soul's journey in life to make contributions in the world to better the greater world, not just to better the family. So life and work are intertwined, and they are intertwined in the expression of your soul. So when you get into this fear of making a mistake, and if you're operating from a place of inadequacy, it just feels bad 24/7. And when that programming is switched on and when it is dominated, when your life is dominated by feelings of inadequacy, you're not just bringing that to work. Here's the way it goes. You're bringing that to your family. More than likely, you're programming your kids with that too. Subtle and not so subtle ways. Johnny, you could do better than that. I can't believe you're leaving your socks out again. What's wrong with you? Look, I know as a parent, it's very, very difficult, and all of our shit comes tumbling out. I get it. I had 2 kids. I was a stepmom too. And I admit to them and to myself, all of my crappy programming went out toward them. Goodness, I have great relationships with them today. They forgave me for being that way, and I forgave myself. Feelings of inadequacy come out in our parenting as well. And we want our kids to be perfect. We want our kids to be a perfect expression of us. You can't screw up what they think. I know my parents threw that on me. I hope their friends think I'm cool and awesome now. I would think they thought I was cool and awesome back then too, but they didn't let me know that. So I worked out my feelings of inadequacy while I was facing life and death in my cancer journey. And that is one heck of a way to reconcile with your soul. I don't recommend it. I really don't recommend having cancer bring you to your soul's mirror and reflection and do that reconciliation and resurrection. It's not a necessary component, but a lot of people don't get there until that level of chaos, calamity, and destruction in one's life. The way the universe is built, it's sort of like that. And I was coaching our ladies last night and said it's kind of like the Game of Thrones. Like there's going to be a problem that you have to overcome. There's going to be a challenge thrown in your way to help you see who you truly are, to help you see who you truly want to be committed to be. So this perfectionism thing that's rooted in feelings of inadequacy is going to be challenged. and you're going to be put to the test. Don't like to use that word, but that's sort of what it feels like. You're going to be put to the test to make a choice. Are you going to choose the perfectionism route, or are you going to choose the soul, imperfect, brilliant version of you that is expressing the divine through you? Because that perfectionism thing isn't your divine expression. Headline: perfectionism is not divine expression coming through you. Vibrancy, thriving, curiosity, growth, expansion, light, brilliance, talent, gifts, strengths. That's your divine expression. And when you're living there, life is so much easier. One of our ladies last night, she said, Mo, I feel like I've kind of plateaued. So we had a bit of coaching around that. And what was going on with her is that she had calmed her nervous system down so much out of a lot of these traps that she wasn't feeling the of life. And when you get to the soul's vibration, when you practice that version of you, when you are soul dominating, not inadequacy dominating, because that's what perfectionism is. Perfectionism means that your inadequacies dominate your life. Oh, that just sounds so horrible thinking about it. But so many people are walking around with that's going on. When we take you through our 12-week workshop, we're going to point you to the direction of your soul. First and foremost, it's the thing that has to get lit up to fix everything else. We can't, and you can't, fix your career if your soul is in the same dim place of inadequacy. You're not going to rise up in your career. You're not going to interview well. You're going to bring that inadequacy to the next job, or you're going to keep bringing it in your current job. Here's what happens. That inadequacy inside of you, even if you're hiding it, it don't hide. It's going to create it does create an attractor pattern. And that attractor pattern is people treating you in the exact reflection of how you feel about yourself. Why do they treat me like I don't know what I'm talking about? Why do they treat me poorly? How come they don't believe what I say? How come they don't take my report? How come they take credit for everything I do? Because you're the one feeling inadequate. You're the one trying to prove you're not inadequate by trying to be perfect. It doesn't work. It doesn't ever work. You cannot give me an example where it works. Not one. Way back when the first Challenger mission exploded. Yes, perfect is the enemy of great glory. Absolutely. And perfectionism is never reached. Angela, so true. Hey, Kelly K, nice to see you. Way back when the Challenger exploded, there was a flaw found in what truly happened. And if you're old enough, you remember that this began to be such a big business mantra. And what they found out was that the O-rings that seal part of the rocket cabinet were bought on a group purchasing cheap initiative. Like they were the cheapest O-rings. Budgetary concerns. We got to build rockets. We can't spend outside the budget. And all of these people lined up their inadequacies to hold true to the budget and overlooked the fact that they knew that that O-ring was inadequate. Hurts me just to tell the story. So human beings let that happen because they were afraid of their own inadequacies to admit that there was something that was flawing the rocket. So they let the rocket have an inadequacy that they knew about. They knew the O-rings were potentially faulty because they weren't the best. History was made on that day as at the time, the biggest NASA disaster. Why are we afraid to call out things that are wrong? Is because we don't want to expose our own inadequacies. That's why we don't say things. On my team, I have a very, very strong statement that when things don't go the way that serve our clients, we talk about them. I want to talk about them before they happen, but sometimes we don't know until after it happens. I have a very, very open, transparent culture in my team. And some of the women who are on my team come from a different work culture, and they find it to be a little awkward to be talking about things that are open and perhaps pointing out that someone did something that didn't work out. And it exposes inadequacy and people get freaky. I want them to get freaky because I want everyone on my team to feel whole. Even when things don't go the way we want them to go, we are feeling whole so that we can patch up the things that aren't working. I always want to be doing something in a better expression so that our clients get better from us. Not out of inadequacy, but because our soul wants growth and expansion and betterness. That's why we desire things in life, because our soul wants more and better. It's an expansion. It's an expansion property. It's the property of our soul to expand. So that means better and more all the time. Again, not out of inadequacy, out of expansion. There's a huge difference of the vibration of expansion for growth, happiness, joy, more clarity, and greater love expression, and not enoughness. There's a huge, huge difference. And so we, in our team's culture, are working toward greater and greater expansion, which means everyone grows, which means everyone learns, which means everyone expresses, which means everyone talks about things. We express and grow. And when your soul is on fire and totally dominating your life, that's how you're going to want to live each and every day. And that's how you're going to want to work each and every day. And you're going to show up and do work that way. And guess what? There are other people, bosses and companies that work that way too. There are. You may not know about that universe because you've been busy in the field of inadequacy. But Miss Perfectionist, let me tell you, life gets so much better when you solve this problem. Your career gets better. Your soul lights up. You feel better inside and out. It's better in that feeling state. So let's give career killer number 3 a big boot out the door. If you don't know how to solve this on your own, chances are you don't. Book a call with us at mofall.com/dailymo, and we will help you sort out your career and what's going on, where you're at, where you want to go. And if we can help you, we'll point you the direction of what our workshop does if there's a fit. If not, maybe there's something else you need to do to fix it. We'll be able to let you know that as well. Chances are, if you're watching this, if you're interested in my work, what's vexing your career is probably one of the things I've been talking about this week. So just to do a little inventory, we talked about blaming others and how that doesn't work in career killer number 1. And we talked about settling and complacency in career killer number 2. This career killer number 3, fear of making a mistake and perfectionism, is a big one. Tomorrow and the next 2 days after that, we've got 6 career killers all in all to talk about. We're going to hit the next couple, and they're as killing on your career and your soul as this one. Let's keep understanding what's holding us back so that we can overcome it. That's what you're here to do in this world. You're here to overcome the limitations of your humanness to be the bright, shiny soul that you were meant to be. And that's what we do in our 12-week transformational workshop. We get you to be that big, shiny version of you so that your career goes sailing along into your beautiful, awesome soul's beauty. That's true perfection. We'll see you next time. Overcome that inadequacy now. Okay. See you next time on the Daily Mo, Coach Mo, mofall.com/dailymo to book your complimentary career clarity call. See you tomorrow.